Buenos días, mi nombre es Michelle Rivera y yo estoy aquí para contarle mi historia.
You can speak in Spanish if you'd like, but we're not going to be able to put it on this with the stenographer. But if you want to say something in Spanish, go ahead. And then, but if you want to have the message recorded, then we need it in English. But I'll understand what you're saying because I speak some Spanish, but I don't know how many other people.
I was just demonstrating some of the struggles that our immigrant community goes through when they're trying to accept some of these programs and services that you claim will mitigate these effects.
Was the translator for public hearing?
So, I grew up in poverty. My family came here in the 90s. We didn't speak English. We often had to juggle in deciding which bills we were going to pay for. So we face utility shutoffs consistently, either heat or electricity. Sometimes we would have neither, sometimes we would have just one. And it's really difficult for a child to go through that. And by having these increases, you kind of just perpetuate that generational trauma by not allowing these families to build generational wealth. And the history is just going to continue to repeat itself. It was really difficult for me as a child of going through that. And you're saying these programs and this help, me being 6, 7 years old, trying to help my mom fill out these forms in English, it didn't work out so well. So you're also increasing the burden to the local nonprofits who will be out there conducting this outreach and letting the people know of these services and helping them apply for these services. But there are still people who are not going to qualify, who are still not going to be aware of these services. I'll tell you, it's really hard to be without utilities. It's hard to explain because until you actually go through it, you can't really comprehend it. Something as simple as waking up when the sun's not up yet and having to get ready for school in the dark, or having to brush your teeth with cold water when you have teeth sensitivity because you don't have access to good dental care. There's so many, or going over to your neighbors so you can plug in your nebulizer and use that. There's just so many things that there's to talk about when it comes to having your utilities shut off and not having that available. The refrigeration of food. I mean, your dinner is going to be canned sausages with whatever you can make. Like, it's really hard. And like I was saying, you just increase the burden on these nonprofits to get these services out and inform the public that there are these services available. On top of that, we're hearing that these services are already strained. And the eligibility, there's a lot of nuances with some of these services and being able to access them. It doesn't take into consideration things like the bills that the working class have to pay regardless of what their income may be. They could have accumulated medical debt, student debt, and as we all know, that's very common, credit card debt. Because you don't have the money, so what do? You put it on a credit card. A lot of us in the community have credit card debt, and it doesn't take into factor all these things we have to pay that maybe we don't meet the eligibility because we make enough, but we still don't really have enough. Yeah, so I just wanted to share my story as a child facing these issues, and I want you to really think about the children because this has a profound impact on them. And I told you, I've gone through it. And it's really hard to come out of poverty when you're facing all of these things, such as increasing rent, inflation, now utility hikes. It's just, you're really holding down or creating barriers for the immigrant, the Spanish community, us living in poverty, to rise up from poverty. And I really want you to think of the people, the children, and how they feel and how it affects them and how it'll affect the generations to come. But thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Mr.